and welcome to the VinoKarma Project. My name is Amanda Layden, and I am here today with an amazing human being, Nayana Ferguson, who is the co-founder and COO of Teeq Spirits. She is going to share with us her journey getting into tequila. We're also going to talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion, and what it means to be the first Black woman in America to co-own a tequila brand. We also might do a little sipping today, so get your tequila glasses ready, and we are going to dig in now. So Nayana, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm really excited to talk to you today because you are a forerunner in this space, which is kind of sad to say in 2021.
I know.
But I want to talk to you a little bit about, why tequila, and if you could just share with people about your journey into starting your tequila brand. So we're just going to start there and share with us a little bit about who you are and why you jumped bravely into this space.
I have to blame my husband, but I mean, tequila is something that I was getting more into, as we get older, we start thinking about, we're not doing the spring break drinking anymore. We want to be more sophisticated. We want to have, something just to mellow out at the end of a long day at work. I know a lot of people drink wine, but I was also looking for other spirits that wouldn't be, so harsh or anything like that, besides wine, because I do like wine as well. And we were talking, and we both are in the corporate world, and we wanted to see and find out some things that we wanted to invest in. And so I asked him, I said, if you could do anything, what would you do? And he said, I would own a tequila company, but we couldn't do that. And I was like, why not? Because previously to that, we had been researching, tequila. We had started getting into the more premium liquors, premium wines and things like that. So we were like, we knew a little bit about it. About tequila, not the business. And, I said, why not? And so a couple of days later, I found a distillery to work with us that works with small brands. And I told him, I said, I think we can do this. And he was still skeptical about it. I got some samples sent to us, and during us waiting for these samples, he was like, "Oh, it's going to be nasty and terrible," and all this stuff, all these things, all these excuses and things. And I was like, "You wait." And we did get the samples, and he tried it, and he was like, "Oh my God, these are actually pretty good. We might have something here. We might be able to do something." And here we are. So we were able to start from that.
That's incredible. So you and your husband own the brand, correct?
Totally. Yes. And it's our baby because it's from scratch.
And it's called Anteal Tequila.
Yes.
And there are right now you have 3 products on the market. Do you want to just tell people a little bit about those 3 products? And we can also taste if you want. I have the bottles. So if everybody can see over my right shoulder, I have the bottles behind me. And I'm super excited. And even talking through, I want to talk about those 3 things you have on the market as well as why the hummingbird on the label.
Okay. The first one we have, and I know you don't have this one, but this is the world's only coconut-lime Blanco tequila. So it is made with the natural extracts of the coconut and the lime. And one of the reasons why we put this on the market and didn't do like most brands do, they do a Blanco, Reposado, and Yeho on the market. We wanted to be different. We wanted to have something, that came on the market since it is the world's only coconut lime. It's something, I guess people would say we got into a niche of it. But our inspiration was actually the margarita. The margarita is famous, especially in the US, one of the top drinks. And
I think it is that, isn't it?
It's in the top 3. It's in the top 3. And so we wanted to basically have a cocktail in a glass. with our coconut lime, because it is the natural extracts of the coconut and the lime, it is not, overly sweet or anything like that. And you can literally have the coconut lime in a glass with some ice and drink it by itself. Some people do a splash of pineapple or a splash of something, but you can literally drink our coconut lime by itself. And it is our best seller among men and women. So it's not just women that are enjoying our coconut lime. So, we thought it would be, but it's not. Because it's very good. And it's sippable, but it does also mix well in any drink that we've made it in. And then we do have our Blanco. So you have the Blanco as well.
I do.
And that's our little blue bird, as we call it. And our Blanco is usually, most people don't know, Blancos are either, if they're aged 2 months or less. And they're basically the tequila, raw tequila. It goes from, them doing all of the distillation and the pressing and the juices. And then usually they let it sit for a while. If they don't do it for 2 months, they let it sit and then they bottle it. So basically Blanco is just straight tequila. A lot of people don't like Blancos just because they're very harsh. They come with that, as we call it, the tequila scrunchy face, when you do it and you get that burn, but our Blanco doesn't have that. A lot of people say, I can actually drink your Blanco by itself. So our Blanco is also a sippable tequila, but again, all of our tequilas, you can put them in any drinks and they mix very well. We do have our reposado as well, because I know you have the reposado.
I do. I love a good reposado.
And reposado means rested. And usually reposados are made in, majority of reposados are made aged actually in American oak barrels. Ours is aged 8 months in Tennessee whiskey barrels. So ours has a little bit different of a flavor profile. So a lot of people who actually like Scotch, bourbon, and whiskey like our reposado because they have the flavor profile of a whiskey barrel. So we get all of those drinkers who drink vodka, who drink Scotch, bourbon, whiskey, and even our wine drinkers, they are drinking our tequila.
That's incredible and amazing. And I'm so happy that I just want people to think about this for a second.
Yeah.
This was an idea that your husband had. And at first you were probably like, you're crazy. And then he was like, you're crazy. What are you talking about?
We can't do that. I was like, why not? Hey,
and now,
women.
And now you have this incredible product on the market that is serving, I think, a niche. What I've started to see, and you can talk more to this, but particularly in tequila, it's really fast moving, fast growing. There are a ton of brands on the marketplace. And we have right now all these celebrities getting into tequila.
There's a reason.
I think part of the reason is they want to go down to, really source down in Mexico to really source the agave, but there's probably more of a reason than that. And so what a smart thing to get into. I want you to share a little bit, because you are technically the first Black female in America to own a tequila brand. So there are, as we've seen, because of the celebrities entering the marketplace, there are Black males who have entered into the tequila space, but you are the first Black female. So, what does it feel like to be that first mover as a Black female in the tequila market?
I mean, like you said, in 2021, it's amazing that I would be the first one. It's amazing that we're in this time that I would be, one of the first. So that is kind of, but to me, it's inspirational, just because I like to look at it as, if I can do something that maybe no one has thought of, maybe getting into a career or a job or an industry where it's male dominated, you can do it, because of course, spirits is a male dominated industry, no matter what spirit it is, and I look at it as it's a challenging thing, but hey, we can do it. I don't care who you are, but mostly women, we can do anything that we put our minds to. And I just hope that my being the first is inspiration to someone else coming along, doing their own spirits, doing whatever business it is, because a lot of people have goals. They want to create their own businesses. And a lot of times they let fear stop them. And I want my story to be some sort of hope and inspiration, say, hey, I got into something then is not the easiest industry to get into, but I did it anyway.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, sharing your story too, if you're comfortable sharing, you know, being who you are coming into this industry has not been the only challenge you've personally faced. So it's not only the barriers to entry in terms of being the first Black female coming into this, but do you want to share with people other things that you've come up against personally that have also shaped why you decided to take this path?
Yeah, actually, tequila, my husband and I were researching tequila because I am a 15-year pancreatic cancer survivor. I am also an 8-year breast cancer survivor. So for me, getting older and learning how to drink, as much as I love wine, I can't drink wine that much just because of the sugars and things like that and what it does to my body being a cancer survivor. So that is one of the reasons why we were looking at other things to look at to drink that may be more healthy for me, to actually ingest and put in my body. So we did find out that tequila, because tequila is made from the agave plant, it is, naturally gluten-free. It is very, very low in sugar and carbs. So for me to drink it neat is something that will not make my glycemic index rise. So that was one of the reasons as well that we were looking into tequila to be something that I could enjoy.
Wow, just being able to say that you're a cancer survivor and you're here and you're creating this powerful brand and being, really I want to say like a pinnacle of somebody that people can look up to as people are trying to break down the barriers in this industry. So let's talk a little bit more about the industry. One of the things that, we do at VinoKarma is that we have sometimes uncomfortable or courageous conversations because we really truly feel that if we bring things to the fore and people are able to ask questions or pause and reflect, that they can think about how to create change or take action in their own lives. So we just talked a little bit around the idea that the beverage industry, wine, beer, and spirits, is predominantly male. It's also in the power structures, still predominantly white male. So those who make decisions, such as distributors, those investors, they're still white men. And so what do you think, coming into this industry and seeing how the power structures are set up, what do you think needs to change or needs to happen in order for there to have more equity and representation in the beverage industry?
That's definitely a conversation that I've had before and continue to have, just because there needs to be some light shed on the fact that there is still this system in place that it is white male dominated. And also in the spirit industry is this 3-tiered system. So all of those things work against, especially smaller brands. There are many brands that especially the celebrities, they have the money. They have this millions, to pump into a new brand, to get it in front of everyone, with marketing and distribution and things like that. But small brands like, my brand, we don't have the funds, like that. So it is, difficult to, get new investors just because we're a small brand. We're not going to do 1 million cases, in a year because we don't have the money to do so. And some of the celebrities do. But, I think it needs to be, I don't know if it needs to be a coalition, a group or something that is put together to look at, brands and what they're doing and, emerging brands and how they're shaping up, as far as distribution, because even for a small brand, distribution can be difficult. We are actually in 5 states, and that was it's amazing for us to only have been on the market for 2 years. But I know some brands that have been on the market for 6 years and they're still only in 1 state because they cannot get distribution or they cannot get the funding, to be able to get more product to grow and to get marketing, and things like that. So, I know there are several groups, I'm not going to name them all, but there are several groups out there that are, working towards, or lobbying towards, all of these laws and just different things that happen. But I think it really needs to be maybe a group even of small spirit brand owners who, are women, minority owned, to try to get together and talk about all the issues that they have with distribution, with, marketing, with investments and all of that, because we all have those issues with that.
Yeah.
I would gladly be on it. I would gladly be a part of it just because, being and I'm not going to say that I've had challenges because I'm a woman and because I'm a Black woman, but I don't know, I don't know if someone has looked at my brand and been like, oh, well, they're still small. We're just going to leave them over there, even though we've been doing way more than many brands that I know of.
Yeah. What do you think a consumer needs to be aware of when they're thinking about navigating, for example, the tequila shelves and putting their dollars behind, these emerging brands or brands which have a story, a real true owner kind of blood, sweat, and tears story about breaking down the barriers in this industry? What should consumers be thinking about?
I think they should do a little bit more research, because a lot of brands that they know are big brands, they're big box brands that basically have the marketing dollars to get their product in front of them. A lot of the smaller brands don't have commercials. They don't have, the funds to be able to just put it in your face. I do know we do a lot of marketing, but we do a lot of social media marketing. And I believe truly that's why, our brand has been, just tearing up, in every state that we're in. But I know a lot of small brands don't do that. And I think they need to learn that as well. But with people, with the consumers, I think they should research a little bit more, go to the store and you see some brands and maybe find, if you see the social media, if you find their social media or their website and look at their story and see if that's something that resonates with you, and see if that's something that you want to support. I do know a lot of people flock to my brand just because they've heard my story. They've heard that, I'm the first Black woman to own a tequila brand. They've seen me on the news. They've seen me in Forbes. They've seen me all over. So they know a piece of the story. And I think that's why they go ahead and buy it. But if consumers knew a little bit more about what they're buying, I think that would change, some of their habits.
I think it's starting to change for sure. I mean, we're seeing it right in somewhat negative ways right now with the cancel culture. But, you also think about consumers are putting their power behind who they want to support. And I completely agree with you. The more that your story gets out there, and the more that you're able to share, like, here's who I am, here's what me and my family represent, here's why we have this tequila brand. It's, part of our legacy and the thing we bring into this world, the more likely consumers are to get behind it. It's just, you're right. Like the competition with the big, you think like you look and these rappers have this tequila brand. You're like, oh, well, why wouldn't I go support the rapper and want to be like the rapper? No, go support the family in the Midwest who has the tequila brand.
and that's the thing, because we see it, because a lot of times the rapper is not even an owner. They're just a paid endorser of it. There are some owners, but they may endorse it, but they may also, hire an influencer or, another celebrity rapper to, help them endorse. And a lot of times that's what it is. I can't afford to hire a rapper, to get my tequila out there. I just can't at this time. So, I just have to continue to tell my story because it's a true story. And it's a story of how we, came up with this tequila, how we navigated in this space.
Yeah, I love it. If you're to think about, women or maybe particularly Black women coming up behind you in this industry, what advice would you have for them in terms of getting started, or in terms of, just in terms of getting started and being able to knock down the doors to make it work?
I've always believed that if you're passionate about something, you're going to go ahead and find out what you need to do to get to whatever goal or whatever thing that you're passionate about. But I do know a lot of times Black women, we get information and we kind of sit on it, because we do a lot of researching, we got to research, we got to make sure it's perfect. Don't do that. My husband and I also have a small business consulting company, and some of the people that we work with, we tell them, yes, you have to get information, but don't keep staying in that phase of getting information. You actually have to execute. You actually have to move forward. Otherwise, you're still going to be doing it years later, still trying to get all this information to make it perfect, you know? And a symptom of that is fear, you know, because a lot of people are fearful. If I don't have all the information, if I don't know how everything works, it's going to fail. I don't know what I'm doing and all of that. My advice is always, yes, research what you're doing, you know, try to find out as much as you can, but you know what, go ahead and go for it. Execute, get moving, keep learning. You know, this is a business that I knew nothing about. I have business experience, but I knew nothing about the spirit industry. I learned as I went, you know, I'm still learning, and I learn as I go, you know, and I ask a lot of questions, you know, to different partners that we work with in the industry.
What's the best advice you've received?
Do not spend all your money on POS. Do not spend a lot of money on shirts, hats, all these little trinkets and things like that. Our distillery, that was one of the first things they told us. We had a Zoom call actually with them when we started, and we asked, what's your main advice? Don't buy a lot of POS, and do not spend a lot on your bottle material, because the bottle, you know, we do actually have a unique bottle. I don't know if you noticed, but it's round at the top and square at the bottom. And our distillery was like, you do not need an expensive bottle to get a great product out there, you know. And he was like, you know, you rather spend more on what's inside the bottle. And we took that to heart, you know, just because we were self-funded. So we had to count the pennies. We couldn't be spending, you know, on just anything. We wanted to get a great product out there as best as we could. And we took that advice.
So, you know, there's been a lot that's happened in America in the past year. Just a little bit. Just
a little bit.
You know, just to name a few things. I mean, we're still living in a pandemic.
Yes.
And I think I heard somewhere that people are drinking now more than they were before, which is understandable because we're stuck at home with our spouses and our kids and our dogs and homeschooling and everything else. So tequila is our friend. And the other thing, of course, is that it felt like, you know, in June of 2020, there perhaps may have been a watershed moment in America after the killing of George Floyd in May. And America, the people who weren't already awake were sort of waking up. I'm not saying the entire nation, because of course we know that's not true. But people were waking up and saying, what can we do? And how can we take action to support Black-owned businesses, to be an ally to our Black, you know, colleagues and friends and neighbors? What did you, if anything, experience with your tequila after kind of that moment in time, which I hope is not just a moment in time, but more of a movement? But what, if anything, did you at Antioch Tequila experience? And is there anything else that you want to say for consumers or for people out there to help support other Black business owners as they navigate the challenges ahead?
I mean, it's been a crazy year for everything. And I have noticed actually our sales tripled actually about that time.
Wow.
And I think it's because people started drinking. But one thing that happened right before May, I had an article in Forbes about me being the first Black woman to own a tequila brand. So right before that happened, a lot of people started getting to know who I was and my tequila. So I think that kind of spurred, you know, that movement in, you know, not only my tequila, my brand, but other Black-owned brands that people were supporting, you know, at that time. And if you were doing social media marketing very well, you probably got in front of a lot of people, because at that time people were looking, you know, a lot of consumers were looking to support. And we did see that because our sales triple, I think because of that, but also because the pandemic and, you know, in April and May and June, it was still really new. So nobody really knew anything. So everybody was kind of at home, like, what am I going to do? And everybody started drinking. So
Yeah.
we,
Started.
we,
Yeah.
we saw we saw uptake in all of that. But yeah, I do think consumers are becoming more aware. I do think consumers are actually looking, to support brands that they relate to, that they resonate with, that they want to support, that are Black-owned businesses, minority-owned businesses, women-owned businesses. And I just say that they continue to look and learn, because there are so many spirit companies that I know, small brands that have some phenomenal products, and a lot of people don't know about them because either they don't have the marketing or whatever it is, and or no one is looking for them. So, I think consumers, as I do know, a lot of people are doing that, but if they can, start really looking and researching and be like, okay, I want some tequila for me, of course. If I want some tequila, well, let me research and see what are some Black-owned brands that are out there. I want, some vodka, I want, wine, and actually look and research and see, because there are those brands out there.
Yeah. Yeah. I appreciate that. Other things you can think of in terms of navigating this really interesting, somewhat old-fashioned industry that, we haven't touched on yet. I mean, yeah, anything you want to discuss about other lessons you've learned or things that just surprised you about this industry?
Back pre-COVID, I did learn that there is still a stereotype about, first of all, tequila, but it is also about women in the industry, because in the beginning, my husband and I were in the streets, going to stores and, basically selling our tequila. And a lot of people wouldn't talk to me, and I don't know if it was because I was a woman, Black woman, whatever it was. My husband had a easier time, because I'm sure, just the thought process is that they didn't think that a woman knows about tequila or about spirits. And it would be, I would get kind of this condescending attitude, when I'm speaking about it. And then when I actually get to talking, and then I would point out something else, I would point out something else that they would have for sale, and I would tell them about it. And then, I had to prove that I knew that what I was talking about. So, that's something I have definitely ran into.
I think it's really important, the stereotyping, or to understand the stereotyping that still occurs in this industry. And
Yes.
It's across the board, and,
Yes.
definitely with women, but I think even more so. And I'm having this conversation with a few Black winemakers and sommeliers coming up here soon, and just having, what the barriers they've had to face in a very old-fashioned, stodgy, stuck in its ways industry. And I love that, you have taken the approach that we're going to put something on the market which is different, which is unique, which sets us apart, and which basically is like, a new innovation, almost like you bringing out the tequila you have with the coconut lime. These brands haven't been innovating in a long time. And so here's this new kid on the block, which I love. And you're like, well, we have this incredible, really like selling tequila, which is way different than anything than anybody else has. And I love that you've also been brave enough to do something like that and not stick with the norms of what this industry has said you have to do.
Right. And I enjoy it, but believe me, as we know, just the stereotypes about it, when we first started introducing the coconut lime, people were like, oh, that'll never sell. We've had several stores in the beginning, that'll never sell. No one likes flavored tequila. It's not going to be good. I don't know what to do with it. All of these things. And all of that has come back to bite them, because our coconut lime is our number one seller. And we have mixed it with everything, and everyone who tries it is like, this is not what I thought. And it's delicious by itself, so I've had to educate the stereotype on what tequila is. A premium tequila, a lot of people have come back to my tequila like, I didn't even have a hangover and I drank half the bottle. Okay. I don't recommend that.
You're like not judging, but
I know, no judgment. You're drinking half a bottle in a night and no judgment, but I'm glad you woke up with no headache and no hangover.
I want to share two things with you, and who knows if this is going to stay in, but so my spring break experience when I was 17, I went to Cancun for spring break. So I had convinced me and three of my girlfriends, because I was in high school, I'd convinced their parents that we were going on an educational trip. Let me tell you, there was nothing educational about that trip other than learning I could hang upside down from my knees and still do a tequila shot. So that was my first foray in tequila. And it wasn't until, probably not too long ago that I recognized that sipping tequila is like one of the best, like premium sipping tequila is one of the best drinks to have. And I absolutely love it. And exploring the nuances of the flavors that you get. I think people still don't understand that, as you're saying, it's not like this crappy hangover thing. No, like there's so many nuances, and the choices that you have made for Antil and all of your tequilas really is, testament to the fact that this is a premium product and you want people to treat it as such. Yeah, of course, mix it if you want to mix it. But, you can have this, which it is a beautiful bottle. Neat. Yeah, totally neat. And I guess part of me would almost, even though I think that there needs to be less old white dudes in this industry, part of me kind of wants to thank George Clooney, and his pals for like showing that you can sip tequila. So then people are like starting to explore this idea of, oh, like maybe I don't need my whiskey on the rocks. I can have my tequila not outside of my margarita, or I can choose a premium tequila to put into my margarita.
Yeah. I mean, because truly my reposado, I drink it neat. And, because the flavor profile of the barrels that it rests in gives it also like a caramel and vanilla, flavor with it too. So you can, being able to taste those. And like you said, it's different nuances with the barrels that you have these drinks, resting in, and you get that. And it's just like a good scotch or it's not 12 years, or something like that as a scotch or whiskey, but it is something that you can enjoy neat. I know a lot of people smoke cigars with scotch and whiskey, and I have had several consumers, send me pictures of them with their cigars and with our reposado. I was like, this is a great combination.
When the world opens up, we should do a VinoKarma and tequila cigar and tequila night.
That would be awesome. I know several people who would go.
Bring in some Latin flavor, like we could do it in SoCal.
Yes. That's one of the places I'm probably going to when the world opens up.
We're here. So what glass, because I'm embarrassed to say, I don't have proper tequila glasses. I recognize that. What glass would you, I have my kind of standard wine tasting glass that I'm going to taste it out of, but what glass would you suggest if people are going to have your tequilas neat? What would you suggest they use?
You can use a Glencairn glass or a snifter, a cognac snifter, for a reposado, because you're able to swirl it so you can nose it, get all the notes, that you can smell. For a Blanco and coconut lime, I use regularly, I think it's an 8.5 ounce, like round, almost like a rocks glass. But we also sometimes use a flute for our coconut lime and the Blanco as well.
Well, I'm going to taste mine out of a wine glass.
Well, you have a wine glass. You're able to swirl it.
Yeah. First of all, it reminds me of like wanting to jump like into the ocean and just be happy and eat tacos and be like, not that I don't eat tacos all the time because I live in Southern California, but just like the nuances and the layers of the smells. I think it's so hard for people while you're doing something like this, when you're tasting and you're talking about it, it's like, we can throw all these flavors out, but truly like people really just need to stick their nose in this glass. Yeah.
And that's why, especially for the reposado, we usually have a Glencairn glass or a cognac snifter or something like that, brandy snifter, because you're able to nose it and be able to get those smells.
I also want people to know, so like this is probably one of the smoothest reposados I've ever tasted. In terms of, when you drink this, it goes down, and like you were saying, like there's none of the puckering of the face. I know you're talking about that from the Blanco too,
but it's face.
Yeah, there's none of that because it's delicious. It's delightful. It's layered. I think, would you also serve this chilled, or do you want it to be room temperature?
I usually drink at room temperature, but I have put a couple of whiskey rocks in it, so I won't dilute it.
Mm-hmm.
And or we have the reusable ice cubes because we use those a lot, so we won't dilute anything.
That's smart. That is so smart.
But I have put whiskey rocks in the reposado.
Well, the two of you have done an amazing job creating this tequila. I want everybody to go out there and definitely pick up this tequila and support you and your husband and your family. And I'm going to do another plug. I'm going to ask you some other questions. I'm going to do another plug, but
okay.
Like absolutely and just we can share with people also where they can get this in a second. So if there was something, like if you were to think about something that you want changed in the industry, if it could happen tomorrow, what would that thing be?
To make distribution be easier.
Distribution easier. It's so important. And I hope at some point distributors are listening to this and they try to come back and understand a little bit more about what small brand owners are facing in a very complex, very competitive market. And just the fact that you, the two of you have been able to dream this baby, create
our babies,
your babies, get it to market, have people giving you the feedback, which says this tequila is incredible. Is just testament, I think, to you as a person and to your husband and the drive and just everything you've been through from a personal perspective to bring this to market is incredible. And kudos to you. And cheers to you for everything you do and for paving the way for other people. I'm sure there's probably a little girl out there that doesn't know it yet. But at some point she's going to see you and say, you know what, I want to be that badass in the industry. And I want to be the person who paves the way for other people to create something that they can be proud of and that they can put their name to. So thank you, Nayana, for being you and for creating this. Let's just tell people out there. So what states are you in?
Physically, we are in Michigan, California, Florida, Colorado, Illinois, New York, and New Jersey.
Whoop, whoop.
We just got our distributor today for Texas. So Texas will be on board in March. But on our website, we actually are able to ship nationwide. So there's online ordering as well for any of the states that we are not physically in.
So can you give, and we'll also put the URL on here, but can you drop the URL? So what's the URL for people to go to support you and to buy your tequila?
We're at antiotequila.com. And if you don't remember that, we're on all social medias as Antio Tequilas.
Easy enough. Is there anything else I haven't asked you today, or anything we haven't discussed that you think is important for people to know about tequila, about your brand, about you, or about how they can support minority owners in this space or another space that you want people to know?
Just to reiterate that if they truly want to support, when you are looking to go buy something and spend your dollars, actually research a little bit first, and see and find those people that you want to support, whether it is a woman and whether it's minority owned, whether it is local or something like that, do a little bit more research and get your dollars to where, it will really help other people in the industry, and emerging brands and small businesses, small companies. Because that's what changes things, and that's what actually makes small businesses become bigger. And that actually, I think, helps change the industry as a whole, just the industries that you're in. If someone started looking for our tequila and started buying it, it's going to make sure that it keeps going, and then it'll be noticed. And then that'll start changing, appear, the business model of what's going on with emerging brands.
Is there an emerging brand or a spirit or brand or wine or something that you're currently loving that you would want to pass on the love and the support to, that people can go out there and find?
There is a liqueur. It's a cream liqueur, and they are LS Cream. I think they're LS Cream because they are a husband and wife duo. They are actually in Canada, but they are available in the US. It is based off, I think the husband or both of them are Haitian, and their liqueur is based off a family recipe. And
how cool.
Is delicious. So I definitely, LS Cream Premium Liqueur.
I think also, one of the things we're trying to do for this month being Black History Month, is that we're trying to support Black brand owners, Black winemakers, tastemakers, chefs. Also, in our local area, restaurants we could support, particularly as they've been hit so hard by the pandemic. So anything that people can get out there and do to find these little boutique, oftentimes husband, wife, mom, pa brands is incredible, and a step, at least one step that each of us can take to ensure that we have more representation and more equity in an industry that is so tough to break into on a multitude of levels.
Yes, it is. And you know what? I have to celebrate all the little, steps that we've been able to accomplish, because it is not easy.
Not easy. Well, thank you for taking the time to speak with us today. I know our community is going to really enjoy hearing from you and your story and your story of inspiration and your journey, and get out there and try these tequilas. So you can find them. Here they are in these beautiful bottles. And I definitely need to pick up the coconut lime because I don't have that one in my house yet. So I will pick that up, and I will tell you what I think about that as well. But I really appreciate it. And I hope that we can get out there and support you in other ways and continue to watch your amazing journey.
Thank you so much.
Cheers.